Yeah, sure. And I mean, in this league, I mean, every game's important, and so you've got to stay focused on that. And it doesn't matter what you project or what's happened before. You learn from your past and take care of what's going on today. We'll get the players back tomorrow, and then we're all in on Denver. So that's kind of where we're at. Is there an urgency? There should be an urgency every week. That's how this league is. There's too much parity in this league not to have urgency every week.
You guys have played a lot of games, right? Have had a lot of success. I mean, this is new for you, right? Being a three-time champion, right? So, like, has you noticed that, some of the guys that have been around and had a lot of success that sometimes maybe they need a little bit more, urging, like that the tank's just on empty because of all that you guys have accomplished?
Yeah, I don't. That's not how I feel. I feel like the guys have got good energy, and we just need to clean a couple things up, and we'll be okay there.
Okay. I know you've said a number of times there's only one football, right? So, like, not everybody can have a giant day, but is it safe to say that you'd like to get Xavier Worthy a little bit more involved, and that would be something that could help you guys out as far as offensively if he could be more part of the equation?
Well, we try to get them all involved the best we can. Some games you're just going to have that where they're taking somebody away, and that's how it goes. That's happened. How the coverage goes. That's how the play call goes. So on. Um, so, but we're not down on Xavier Worthy. We know he's a good player, and we like to get the ball in the good players' hands. The best way we can. Um, so it just hasn't rolled that way.
It looks like Sarin has one more for you, and then we'll go
That's
last
fine.
to Jesse.
Yeah, far
Coach,
away.
sorry. Last one would just be Chris Jones. I mean, does he need to, find another level for you guys to be successful in the second half?
I think we all need to do better. I would say that Chris is always striving to do better every day. I mean, that's what's made him such a good player. Um, Again, he's the guy that they're going to focus on, and if you're getting a double team, that's who's getting doubled, and so that's he'll get his as we go forward. It's just important that he stays consistent and keeps working hard.
Go ahead, Jesse.
Yeah, Andy. Obviously, the bye week is a big week for self scout for you guys. I just wonder what the biggest takeaways were when you were rewatching yourself on tape.
Yeah, I can't give you all that, Jesse, but I would tell you that we did go back and look at some of the things we can do better or some of the things that we've done well. Um, we had a lot of good things coming up to this past week, and then there were some things there that we can definitely learn from the last game against the Bills. So, um, but again, that's why we spend the time working on that stuff. But I'm not going to put it out there for sure. Good question though.
Thank you, Coach. That's all we have for.
The Kansas City Chiefs nearly completed a significant transaction before the trade deadline arrived, but their plans fell apart at the final moment. Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were expecting a new defensive addition to strengthen their roster, yet the agreement dissolved when circumstances shifted unexpectedly. ESPN insider Adam Schefter reported that Kansas City and the Seattle Seahawks had reached terms on acquiring linebacker Boy Mafe. The Chiefs identified the veteran defender as a priority target and launched an aggressive 11th-hour campaign to bring him aboard. Sources indicated that both organizations had finalized the framework for the transaction before time expired on deadline day Tuesday. Everything appeared settled until Seattle abruptly revised course. The Seahawks withdrew from negotiations and chose to retain their linebacker instead of completing the exchange. Multiple insiders believe the arrangement had been confirmed, with at least one source convinced the deal was officially done. Nevertheless, Seattle made an unexpected decision to keep Mafe as the deadline approached, leaving Kansas City without the defensive reinforcement they desperately sought. The Chiefs wanted Mafe specifically to address their need for improved pass rush capabilities. His departure from Seattle seemed inevitable given his underwhelming performance throughout the current campaign. Most observers anticipated that moving him would be straightforward business for both franchises. Nobody predicted that Seattle would suddenly decline to release him after negotiations had progressed so far. If you find these behind-the-scenes trade stories fascinating, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the latest NFL breaking news and insider information. Despite his struggles this season, Mafe remains an important component of Seattle's defensive scheme. The Seahawks are actively competing for the NFC West division title and a postseason berth, making roster stability essential. They recognized that maintaining depth across their lineup was more valuable than whatever compensation Kansas City offered in return. Mafe was not the only Seahawks defender that Kansas City explored acquiring. Trade deadline speculation also connected cornerback Rick Woolen to potential discussions with the Chiefs. Reports suggested that Reid and Mahomes considered pursuing Woolen as an alternative target, but Seattle refused to part with him as well. The Seahawks clearly established that their defensive contributors were unavailable regardless of outside interest. Seattle general manager John Schneider orchestrated the decision to block these proposed trades. His reasoning centered on the team's current playoff positioning, which made selling valuable players completely counterproductive. Rather than weakening the roster by shipping out established defenders, Schneider determined that Seattle needed to add talent instead. This philosophy drove Schneider to complete a trade with the New Orleans Saints, acquiring linebacker Rashid Shaheed to bolster his squad. The move demonstrated Seattle's commitment to strengthening rather than dismantling their roster during a competitive season. Schneider understood that his franchise stood at a critical juncture where every roster decision could influence their postseason chances. For Kansas City, the failed acquisition represents a missed opportunity to address defensive concerns that have emerged throughout the year. The Chiefs entered deadline day hoping to upgrade their pass rush and linebacker depth, but came away empty-handed when Seattle withdrew. Reid and Mahomes must now work with their existing personnel to generate the defensive pressure they sought from external additions. The Seahawks made a calculated gamble by retaining Mafe despite his inconsistent production. They valued his familiarity with their system and his potential to improve as the season progresses. Seattle also avoided the risk of weakening their defense while chasing playoff positioning in a tightly contested division race. Before we wrap up, remember to subscribe and stay connected for more exclusive NFL trade analysis and team updates you will not find anywhere else. The collapsed trade illustrates how quickly circumstances can change during deadline negotiations. What appeared to be a completed transaction unraveled when one party reconsidered their priorities and organizational needs. Kansas City learned that even agreements seemingly finalized can disappear when teams reassess their competitive situations. Seattle's decision to hold firm on both Mafe and Woolen sent a clear message about their intentions. Rather than acting as sellers, they positioned themselves as buyers seeking to enhance their playoff prospects. Schneider's aggressive stance preserved defensive continuity while simultaneously adding new talent through the Shaheed acquisition. The Chiefs will need to find alternative solutions for their defensive challenges using internal development and scheme adjustments. Meanwhile, Seattle moves forward with their core defenders intact, hoping their strategic choices pay dividends during the crucial final weeks of the regular season and potentially beyond into playoff competition.